I want to start off by giving all the glory, infinite praise, and honor unto Yahweh, Bahashem, Yahweh Shai, Bahashem, Bahakodash. Double honors to the apostles and the elders of Great Millstone that do rule and teach well. Peace, love, and salutation to the hopeful elect that is out there pushing his truth in all sincerity throughout the four corners of the earth, giving diligence to make their calling and election sure. Shalom. It's your brother Sean from the Great Millstone Savannah Camp coming back in spirit with another lesson. Lord willing, I pray and hope it is edifying and exhorting. All right. And I want to do this lesson pertaining to this article right here from MSN. All right. And as you can see, this is, verified um, news article. All right. According to multiple different sources. Okay. Um, Including Yahoo. All right. I want to get MSN, so like the most credible source. Um, and that's very important in these time and days that we vet information, right? Even though this is the misinformation age, um, all things work together, um, and they can do nothing against the truth before the truth. So, many of these news articles, there's a lot of misinformation, but the Lord ultimately prophecy is the only thing that is going to remain faithful and true in these times. All right. So, this lesson. All right, it's basically going into this article. It says Treasury declares U.S. insolvent in bombshell report. All right, now I had that word. All right, insolvent is from the 1590s. It's an adjective, right? And it's describing someone who is unable to pay one's debts. All right, it says not in solvent, paying. Right, so they're not paying. One who was a trader, only traders could become bankrupt. All right, so basically the United States is bankrupt. Okay, the U.S. Treasury has declared. Right, it says the U.S. Treasury's latest financial statement shows the federal government is solvent with liabilities nearly 8 times its assets and a widening fiscal gap. The report reveals 47.78 trillion in official liabilities, excluding 88.4 trillion in unfunded social security and Medicare obligations. Lawmakers are pushing for constitutional fiscal limits as foreign investors pull back and geopolitical threat target U.S. financial assets. Okay, so basically, um, America is spending more money than it makes. All right, which is for anyone is a cause for concern, and it's also irresponsible. Okay, so you know, especially with what's taking place right now, this war, right, which is costing them trillions of dollars a day, or millions of dollars a day. Um, basically, the United States is broke, and this is all biblical prophecy, and it's going to lead to um, ultimately the reset, right? Which the apostles and elders of Great Millstone have been warning about, all right, from the beginning, that Yahweh Shemel Shai is bringing plagues upon this place, all right, and that, ultimately, uh, they're gonna, do a reset, all right, and the reset will implement the MOTB, all right, which is the RF um, ID chip, okay. And this is beautiful to see. All right, this is beautiful to see. All right, the scripture speaks about how we are blessed. All right, to see the fall of our enemies. All right, in this time. So, without further ado, I want to get into some precepts. And of course, the number one precept is Habakkuk chapter 2. Um, and I'm gonna just read from one because it's too good, man. All right, Habakkuk chapter 2 and verse 1, it says, I will stand upon my watch and set me upon the tower and watch to see what he shall say unto me and what I shall answer when I am reproved. And Yahweh answered me and said, write the vision, make it plain upon tables that he may run that readeth it. For the vision is yet for an appointed time, but at the end it shall speak and not lie. Though it tarry, wait for it, because it shall surely come, because it will surely come, it will not tarry. All right, in the vision, all right, which Yahweh Shem Shai um, gave the prophets aforetime, all right, was for this appointed time, all right, and it is speaking in these latter days, okay, um, and we are the watchmen upon the walls, all right, primarily the camp of Great Millstone are the watchmen upon the walls that are watching to see what they shall say when they are reproved, meaning when they see danger, all right, when they see evils coming upon the people, right, and the people being you so-called Negroes, Latinos, Native Americans, okay, primarily, and those Israelites that are scattered abroad, all right, that these times are coming upon the earth, okay, um, the times of evil, the times of trouble, you know. Verse 4, it says, behold, his soul which is lifted up in him is not upright, but the just shall live by his faith. All right, and the just are living by faith. All right, those that are on the wall watching. But his soul that is lifted up is not upright in him. It's talking about who? Esau Edom, the so-called white man. All right, the United States. All right, the NATO and the EU. They're all a part of, along with Russia as well as Israel. They're all a part of the beast. All right, they are the Edomites, biblical Edomites. Okay, verse 5, it says, yeah, so yeah, also because he transgressed by wine, he is a proud man, neither keepeth at home, who enlarges his desire as hell. And this is primarily speaking about the Edomite in the West, okay? Primarily the American Edomite, all right? Which, when you look at America, it came out of Europe, okay? These Edomites came out of Europe, out of the British Empire, out of the French Empire, and out of the Spanish Empire. Okay, it says he enlarges his desires hell and is as death and cannot be satisfied. Yeah, he went all throughout the earth, conquering, taking over government, setting up proxies. All right, doing coups. Okay, just taking all the resources out of the earth, enslaving the people. All right, and pushing his philosophies and his wine on the nations that he conquered. It says, but gathereth unto himself all nations. Yep. This is the melting pot, America, right? Not only that, he goes into other countries, right? It says, and heapeth unto himself all people, right? And here's the point in verse 6. It says, shall not all these take up a parable against him, and a taunting proverb against him, and say, woe unto him that increaseth that which is not his. How long? All right. And, even this land that is America, all right, he has increased it, right? When we talk about having trillions and billions of dollars, how did he do that? All right, through taking over and rape, robbing, and murdering the people that were here before him, okay? The so-called Native Americans. They were already over here, all right? The Tainos, um, the so-called Hispanics, right? He conquered them and took their land and increased it, right? Built, all these buildings you see, all these neighborhoods, all the resources, the wood, right, the water, everything he sold, right? He has literally waxed rich off the backs of the Israelites, right, and off the land that he stole from the Israelites. All right. It says, and to him that ladeth himself with thick clay. Now this is important, right? Because a lot of people will read, they say they read the Bible, right? But do you understand the Bible? You know, are you looking up the words? Are you studying? Are you studious? Are you a scholar? Right? And through our apostles and our elders of Great Millstone, right, who taught us to be scholarly, who taught us the subtleties, the mysteries of the scriptures, we are able to go into these precepts and actually break down the proper text and the proper meaning, right? So a lot of people would read thick clay, but the word there is abadia, right?
Strong's H
Which in the Hebrew
5671
is abadia,
Avtit
all right? And
Avtit.
it goes into what? It says weight of pledges, heavy debts, okay? So it says pawned goods, right? Um, so he laded himself, meaning what? He covered himself in debt. Okay, let's look at this. It says weighty, grievous, hard, to be rich, to be honorable, to be burdensome, heavy, right? Dull, to make insensible, right? To glorify, right? So he has basically glorified himself in debt. Okay, everything that he got, even the fiat currency was based on debt. Um, especially here in America, all right? And now the walls are starting to not only crack, but there's water coming out, okay? And they're now sounding the alarm, okay? Um, that hey, we don't have the money, all right? So here's the matter of fact. I want to here's the recompense, right? If you keep reading, it says, "Shall not all these rise up suddenly that shall bite thee, and awake that shall vex thee, and thou shalt be for booties unto them, because thou hast spoiled many nations. All the remnant of the people shall spoil thee, because of men's blood, and for the violence of the land, of the city, and of all that dwelt therein." Right? And the violence, you know, the so-called Negroes have definitely been a victim um, of your violence. All right, and we're not victims, but you have committed crimes against us. All right, you enslaved us. You dehumanized us. You dehumanized us all over the world. Right. You sold us on auctioning blocks. You hung and lynched us. You raped our women. All right. There's accounts where you would lynch us and lynch pregnant women. Um, and cut the babies out of their stomach. You fed our babies to alligators. You know, you would make a man defecate in another man's mouth. You would make a man have sex with his mother. This is what the so-called white man did to the so-called Negroes. Not to mention the Tainos, right? You would burn them alive at the stake. There's a famous picture of I think it's like 6 or 5 Native American men, right? Basically hung from a rope over a fire. You know, look what the Greeks did to the seven brothers. All right, in the book of Maccabees. So you have a lot of crimes to pray for, man. You have a lot of blood, um, a lot of violence that you've done, right? It says, "Woe to him that coveteth an evil covetousness to his house, that he may set his nest on high, that he may be delivered from the power of evil. Thou hast consulted shame to thy house by cutting off many people." and has sinned against thy soul. So you sinned against your own soul. You have basically in this chapter it's so good, man. You know, it just spells out your judgment for you. All right. But Esau Edom has to pay for his crime. All right. And we're seeing the ramifications of those crimes playing out right now. All right. Um, I want to get Ezekiel 7 and verse 14. It says, they have blown the trumpet even to make all ready, but none goeth to the battle. For my wrath is upon all the multitude thereof. The sword is without, and the pestilence and the famine within. He that is in the field shall die with the sword, and he that is in the city, famine and pestilence shall devour him. And we're coming into the times where, um, when this reset happens, there's going to be all hell breaking loose in the cities, in the rural areas, all right, in these little towns all throughout America, man. All right, it's going to be like The Purge, Walking Dead, The Road, all these different uh, apocalyptic movies. Okay, verse 16. This is why the men of the Lord watch these movies constantly because we have been preparing our mind for these times where the average American citizen thinks that nothing else is going to come to the streets and the shores of America, right? They don't understand the times that they're living in. But the prophets of Yahweh Shuni Yahushua have been calling these things out and preparing, okay? Preparing our minds for these times. Verse 16, it says, but they that shall escape of them shall escape and shall be on the mountains like doves of the valleys, all of them mourning, every one of his iniquity. All hands shall be feeble, and all knees shall be weak as water. You see, you're gonna be bad times. It says they shall also gird themselves with sackcloth, and horror shall cover them, and shame shall be upon all faces, and baldness upon all their heads. They shall cast their silver, and this, of course, happened many times, but it's gonna happen again. All right, that which is then is now. It says they shall cast their gold, they shall cast their silver in the streets, and their gold shall be removed. Their silver and their gold shall not be able to deliver them in the day of the wrath of Yahweh. So none of this money, none of this, these different stocks and bonds you have, your 401k, your Social Security, your Medicaid, none of that is gonna save you in this day, in this time. All right. None of that is going to help you. It says, they shall not satisfy their souls, neither fill their bowels, because it is the stumbling block of their iniquity. It says, as for the beauty of his ornament, he set in his majesty, but they made the images of their abominations and of their detestable things therein. Therefore have I set it far from them. So the people of America, they have not known Yahweh Shem Yahushua, right? They've only known idols. So the Lord is not going to be with them in that day, right? The Lord is not going to lift up a standard for them. They're not going to see any signs and miracles. It's just going to be, evil, all right, bad times, okay? And we pray that Yahweh Shem Yahushua have mercy upon us in these times, man. All right, that even though we're here in the flesh, we are to the best of our ability, walking in his way. All right. Um, this is James chapter 5 and verse 1, right, which is a warning to the rich, right? Which you rich are you elites, all right? You are the real rich men in this society, right? Verse 1. It says, go to now, ye rich men, weep and howl for your for your misery, for your miseries that shall come upon you. Your riches are corrupted, and your garments are moth-bitten. Your gold is cankered, your gold and your silver is cankered, and the rust of them shall be a witness against you, and shall eat your flesh as it were fire, right? You have heaped treasure together for the last days, and that's what these elites are trying to do in these latter days, right? With these different wars, right? It's a transition of power happening, right? A fight for power. But there's a different paradigm shift that's taking place as well in the heavens, right? Where the kingdom of heaven is going to come upon the earth, all right? Through Yahushua coming back and, putting down these rulers, putting down, um, these elites, and putting a yoke of iron upon their neck. It says, behold, the hire of the laborers who have reaped down your fields, which is of you kept back by fraud, crying, and the cries of them have reached into the ears of the Lord of Sabaoth, right? And the laborers represent, your so-called Negroes, Latinos, and Native Americans, right? In fact, let me get that. Let's see what that is in the NLT, not in the NLT, in the KJV, right? I believe that word there is the laborers, right? It says a worker, a perpetuator, a workman, all right? Figuratively, a teacher, right? Um, kind of the Lord of Sabaoth, right? So the word Sabaoth, the Lord of Sabaoth, the Lord of armies of Israel, um, as those who are under the leadership and the protection of Yahweh, maintaining his cause in war, right? So the Lord of hosts, right? The Lord of armies, okay? Our cries, right? The cries of the so-called Negroes, Latinos, Native Americans, the righteous, are entered into the Lord's ears, man. It says, "You have lived in pleasure on earth, and have been wanton. Ye have nourished your hearts in as in a day of slaughter. Ye have condemned and killed the just, and he doeth not resist you." Right? So this is talking to the elites. Okay? So you're doomed. All right? You're not gonna get out of this. You're not gonna wiggle your way out. Right? Yahweh Shem Shai has you in a snare and a trap. You know, and you think that you're gonna have a global reset to counteract prophecy, but it's not gonna happen, man. Yahweh Shai is gonna ruin your plans. So we're living in that time, man. So I just want to do this quick lesson, going into um, the U.S. economy being solvent, right? And we're almost out of here, man. We're one event from all hell breaking loose. So be sober, be vigilant. I'm speaking, also to myself as well in these times, man, to watch, all right, and pray that Yahweh Shah shall deliver us out of this hell, man. So Lord willing, it was edifying and exhorting. I want to end off by giving all the glory, infinite praise, and honor unto Yahweh, Bahashem, Yahweh Shai, Bahashem, Wadash, double honors to the apostles and the elders of Great Millstone. Peace, love, and salutation to the hopeful elect that is out there pushing this truth in all sincerity throughout the four corners of the earth, giving diligence to make their calling and election sure. Shalom.